Greetings History 141 students, John Fia here, your instructor, Megan the producer behind the camera as usual. The founding fathers are here with me today, and today we're going to talk about the lecture that we gave on Manifest Destiny and the Mexican-American War. This movement west. When we talked about democracy in that lecture, we talked about the sort of economic, religious, political dimensions of democracy. There's also this westward movement piece, right? People are moving west to sort of find new lives for themselves, to begin again, to be sort of reborn in a kind of American sense, to find opportunity. There's opportunities there for people who may not necessarily have opportunity in the more socially stratified eastern seaboard towns and communities. So you have this westward movement. John Lewis O'Sullivan called this Manifest Destiny, right? It is America's destiny to settle all of North America. You have another newspaper editor in New York, Horace Greeley, who coins this phrase, "Go west, young man." And you see these travelers moving to the wide open spaces. In some ways it's a very Jeffersonian idea, right? Moving out, looking for land, trying to establish lives for themselves, pursuing their understanding of what it means to be an American or the American dream. So you have, the Oregon Trail we talked about in class, the Gold Rush. You have the Mormons pursuing religious freedom, moving to Salt Lake City. Many of these people are motivated by, good American values, but it would be hard pressed to say that there is not also a religious and a racial dimension to Manifest Destiny as well. Many people who talk about Manifest Destiny in the early 19th century talk about it in providential terms, or the idea that, not only should we be settling all of North America and spreading out with American ideals and values into these regions, but that it is a divine call, that God wants us to do this. He's urging us, He's predestined us, if you will, to take this land and to bring a white Christian civilization to this land. Of course, that then goes into the sort of racial dimensions. Implied here is that white Christian civilization is the most superior form of civilization. And there's nothing, taken into consideration about the fact that there actually are human beings living in the Western territories, the Native American populations, that are going to need to be pushed aside, or at least assimilated into this white vision of taking North America. So there's clearly this racial idea that Anglo-American society is superior over these Native populations, and thus the Native populations must make way. Now, there was also a considerable amount of migration coming into Texas at this time. I think in the 1830s, there's actually, in the area of Texas, which is controlled by Mexico at this time, if you remember the map we put up on the board, there are more Anglo settlers there, white Americans, than there are Mexicans in this part of Mexico. And we talked about the conflict that emerges between these two groups, which results in what we refer to as the Texas Revolution, the Battle of the Alamo, Sam Houston, Stephen F. Austin, and so forth. And then they create the Republic of Texas. And then the second phase of this is the election of 1844, where James Polk defeats Henry Clay. Remember Henry Clay, we call it the Buffalo Bills of presidential candidates, right? He loses 4 times running as a Jeffersonian and then a Whig. But that whole race is based on whether or not to annex Texas. And when Polk wins, he immediately then moves not only to bring Texas into the Union as a state, a slave state, but also to go to war with Mexico to try to, again, manifest destiny, right? To try to take over much of what today is the southwestern United States. Polk is a Southern Democrat. He's a slaveholder. He truly believes that this land, this territory, needs to be taken by the United States to provide opportunities for other Southern Democrats to move in to this region, to bring their slaves with them, and for many slaveholders, right, moving into new territory and getting the opportunity to start their own plantations is part of this kind of idea of the American dream. So often the Mexican-American War, which America wages with Mexico between 1946 and 1948, is often described as Mr. Polk's War, because clearly he wants to spread out, expand the country so that so slavery can be expanded into those regions as well. The war ends in 1848 with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The United States, if you remember from the map, gains all of the territory in what today is California and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and parts of Colorado, Nevada, and so forth. And then the decision is, what do we do with this territory? You may remember the young freshman senator named David Wilmot, who we talked about, who proposed all this territory should come in as free territory. Slavery should not be permitted in these regions. And he uses the precedents of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 and the Missouri Compromise of 1820. These were both federal decisions, federally sponsored programs that settled land and the government prohibited slavery. Those were the models that Wilmot was working off of, and he just assumed that here's some more new territory that we've gained, and now we should prohibit slavery there as well, much like we did in the Old Northwest, much like we did above the 3630 parallel line that was constructed in 1820 with the Missouri Compromise. Go back and look at your notes on the Missouri Compromise, or on the Northwest Ordinance for that matter. Wilmot's proviso, as it becomes known, is successful in the House of Representatives, where you have a house based on population and there's more people living in the North than in the South. It fails in the Senate, and thus it fails as a proviso, thus leading up to probably some of the fiercest political debates in American history happening in 1848, 49, and into 1850 over how will we handle the slave question. As we expand, as we move and experience manifest destiny, as we settle these regions, will slavery be permitted there? And that in many ways is going to be the story that we're going to encounter over the next 3 lectures leading up to, as you know, the Civil War. So again, a lot to think about there. Manifest destiny, its consequences, its implications for the development of America, and we'll pick it up next time on the Virtual Office Hours. Have a good day.